Rich, I'm so mad at you. 70? I'm so mad. I need to move to where you are. Freezing in New York, 31 degrees. Yeah, that sounds about right. I feel like it's gonna snow soon, and I'm not ready for that. This is the type of weather that makes you want to stay in bed all day. We are going to get started right now. So, welcome to everyone joining in. I am your host of Testimony Tuesdays, Dr. Beauty, and we have a wonderful conversation planned out for this evening with Dr. George Korede. So I'm going to read his introduction, but before I do that, for anyone tuning in for the first time, Testimony Tuesdays is a platform that I started a few months back that gives people the opportunity to share about their businesses, their personal triumphs in life, inspirational stories, and the feedback has been really great over the past few weeks, especially during these times when we're hearing all this negative news on the TV, in the newspaper. So you guys all inspire me with your stories, and if anyone out there wants to share about their business ventures or anything inspirational that they would like to talk about with the audience, just shoot me a DM and we'll schedule an interview. So we're pretty much booked through January right now of 2021, but February and beyond is open. So I'm going to get started with his introduction. So Dr. George Korede is a rheumatologist and author. He attended Georgia State University, where he obtained his bachelor's in biology and minor in chemistry. He then attended Mercer School of Medicine and obtained his Doctorate of Medicine. Following his medical school journey, Dr. Korede completed his residency training at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center in internal medicine and is board certified in the same specialty. He subsequently completed his Rheumatology Fellowship, Specialization and Certification at Baylor College of Medicine. In addition to his academic pursuits, Dr. Korede also helped co-found the NAACP SMAART in Houston, Texas. The organization aims to help connect Black startups, ideas, and businesses with resources. Dr. Korede also mentors premeds and young Black professionals. His catalog as a writer consists of Darker Shades of the American Dream and his most recent book, Mastering the Crown. So everyone send in your applause emojis as I let in Dr. Korede.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good evening. How are you?
Doing well. I appreciate all the hoopla about my resume. I appreciate that. I'm a pretty low key guy, so hearing all that stuff, I'm like, yeah, well, that's a
You,
mouthful, but I'm humbled, and I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak on the platform.
oh, it's my pleasure. And everyone usually says that they're like, wow, I did that. So it's amazing that you've accomplished all these things and you deserve the applause. So just take it all in.
I appreciate it. It never gets old. I'm very thankful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So how are you doing this evening?
I'm well. Had a I had made this a lighter day because I knew we were going to do this, and that's the thing about medicine. You never know how your day's going to go. I had a few ill patients at the end of the day that took a little bit more out of me than I anticipated, but I'm thankful. Everything's okay. Yeah,
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that everything went well. And I know those days are pretty unpredictable,
yeah,
but here we are. And it's good to, have the opportunity to vent and be grateful for everything.
certainly. Yeah.
Yes. So I usually start off these interviews with an icebreaker
All
question.
right.
So what was something you thought would be easy until you tried it?
Um, I guess just to, on subject, I guess residency really. That's a. I know you're pursuing a career in medicine, and I don't know if any of the viewers on here are as well. Um, you're kind of type A, you work hard, you did well in college, and you're like, okay, clearly other people have done it. I can do it too, right? But I think there's nothing that prepares you for something that's physically and mentally as taxing as residency.
Hmm. Yeah, that is real. That is real. And I think even for me going into medical school, I thought, like you said, it would be similar to college, applying the same formula, but nope. Every
Nah,
subject is different too.
right. It's not the same. It's not the same. Everybody's a superstar in med school, right?
Right.
uh, Class full of superstars. So yeah.
Exactly. So speaking about med school, can you tell us what inspired you to pursue a career in medicine?
Yeah. Um, I was, uh, one of the nerds that appreciated the human body. I just enjoyed it. I think it's just I always had the perspective of it's amazing how walking, talking, um, you know, performing these complex activities is held together by cells and um, the brain and this infrastructure that is it's not. I mean, it's never been duplicated. Nobody else can create a human and do that. So, well, clones, et cetera, now, but I think just the beauty of the human anatomy and appreciating that, and then finding a way to have impact, give back. So it just kind of made sense to me. I was like, you know what, I can use all this scientific content and actually help people. So it's cliche, but that's actually what kind of brought me into medicine.
Right. Yeah, I know it's the $1 million question that every medical professional typically gets, but I think that one unifying factor is that we want to help people and we're fascinated with the human body.
Sure. Absolutely. It's yeah, man. I kind of nerd out on that kind of stuff. I think the immune system's phenomenal. So here I am.
Yes. Yes. And while you were in med school and even going throughout college, did you face any notable challenges in your pursuit to becoming a physician?
Oh, for sure. That's actually what inspired my first book, ironically, Darker Shades of the American Dream. I think I came from humble beginnings. My parents are immigrants from Nigeria. I know we have that in common. And yeah, man, I didn't, where I was raised initially, we didn't really have a lot, lack of mentorship and resources. And if you wanted to pursue something like medicine, there wasn't a lot of people that looked like you or I, there to fill those gaps or bridge that divide. And when you set out to do those sorts of things, you have to shadow people, right? You have to get letters of recommendation. You have to do certain things that put you in uh, in a lane that sets you apart. And I didn't have a lot of that. As a matter of fact, when I tried, a lot of people didn't want the raggedy teenage black boy, scaring their patients and hanging out in the lobby and stuff like that. That's how it went. And then even when you get into med school or pursue higher education, I had the grace for me to uh, get to where, and during med school and residency, people treat you differently with patients. Maybe they don't want a black doctor, they don't think you're good enough, whatever. Or maybe even your colleagues perhaps think because of the color of your skin, you're not competent. You're not able to perform at the same level. So, not always. I'm not calling anybody out. I think it is what it is, but I certainly think those are impediments or obstacles that challenged me.
Right. I totally agree with you. Even when I was in college, there were little to no mentorship programs in place for students of color who were pursuing a career in medicine. And so, especially being a first generation American and first person in my family pursuing medicine,
Yeah.
it was definitely a challenge because
Yeah,
there's no one really to ask, how do you do this? We're kind of writing the blueprint out as we go.
right. That's what, to this day, my mom's like, "So, what kind of doctor are you?" And I'm like, I'm like, they just don't understand. Or like what you'll probably go through in med school residency. It's like, when are you done? Like, how long you just keep doing this, and when are you getting paid? And it's all these things that you don't know if you're not inclined. Your family isn't medically inclined.
Exactly. And they don't understand how many exams it takes to get to the final point and that the exams don't end.
They never end. They never end. Yes, I did some board questions today just to keep myself sharp.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's something that we need more, which is why I'm happy that we have people like you who have that social media presence and have been through it, because people who are just starting out can look to that and know that, hey, there's someone who looks like me who's on the other side.
Sure, and I mean, these are things that are being discussed more now with this racial awakening or people acting as though they care. I hope it persists, but yeah, I think that having that sense of identity by seeing someone that looks like you um, at a young developmental time in your life is impactful. And once again, this is in my first book, Darker Shades of American. I had a professor that was a black gentleman who's just he was just an inspiration to me. He's smart, had himself together, and it inspired me. I was like, you know what, I could do this. He's doing it, and he's cool. Like, what I'm saying? And he's super smart, but he's got his life together, and he's making a move. And for our community, I think it's very important that we glorify these other avenues. Different ways to be successful. You can start a business, you can grow something out of nothing, you can be a doctor, lawyer. And yes, we're gifted in other ways too. Music, all the natural things that we have that natural swagger, of course. But you can do many things, and I think that that's the beauty of the Black culture. No matter where you're from, if you're Black, it's a natural thing. So.
Yes. I totally agree with that, because one thing that I encountered, especially in college, was people asking what I wanted to do. And it wasn't just one thing. I had medicine in mind, but I
Right,
also like the arts and
right,
I like writing. So it seemed as though society tried to put you in one box and told you could only do one thing. But
absolutely.
now we're seeing people who are multifaceted. They're, rapping, and then at night they're doing surgery, or they're doing hair, and then
Right,
they're at the same time a chemist. Like, they're doing so many different things.
right.
And we're realizing now too that creating that generational wealth
Mm.
comes from having those multiple streams of income and being multifaceted.
I think that's the irony of this whole year is that during a time that was devastating to so many people, it really made a lot of people reevaluate their income and purpose, a sense of fulfillment. And is this really what I want to be doing with my life when you could die tomorrow or lose a loved one? Or what's the value of your time? You know what I mean? What would you rather spend time doing, being with your loved ones or working until you can't work anymore? You know what I mean? So, I think it's imperative, especially in our impoverished community, because I mean, uh, we know the numbers. Black individuals have the highest poverty rates in all of America. And I think it's imperative that we tap into multiple streams of income. I'm really big on that. And it doesn't matter what you do, but you should be looking at different ways to make yourself successful.
Right. That's very well said, and I totally agree with that. And speaking about imparting that to the next generation, mentorship has also been part and parcel of your career journey. And so, could you expound a bit on your involvement in the co-founding of the NAACP SMAART?
Yeah, I was in Houston, Texas during my fellowship training, and I had this idea about this health app, and I wanted to bring it to market. So I started hanging out with these young guys that were really inspirational and built stuff. And I just found this group that was coming up with NAACP, and they just wanted some professional mentorship and guidance with people that have access to resources or people that have done it, have went from nothing and now are successful. And me and a gentleman by the name of Korede, and a lot of other bright young black males actually do it together, and we're able to try to tap into resources in the community and get it to people with business ideas and things like that. Um, Fortunately, when I left Houston, I haven't been affiliated with them here. I'm now in Charlotte, North Carolina. But similarly, I think it's important that we have these avenues where we can tap into this kind of stuff and share these resources and build infrastructure. Right. One of my new age underground railroad, if you will. You need some way to get other people like yourself into medicine or entrepreneurship, whatever it is, and who's best able to realize that actuality. But you went through it yourself, so you know exactly how that feels and what you need. So,
Right. I think that's a very valid point, because these are skills that are not really taught in traditional education in schools. We're learning about social studies and English and math, which are all very important in their own respects. But how about the life skills, like
right.
balancing your accounts? And
Mm,
those are skills that people actually get caught up in on the wrong side after college because they've never been taught that. So I think that's very, very important for the next generation to learn.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the paradigm has shifted. Student loan debt is ridiculous. People are not able to have a functioning wage with a normal 4-year degree anymore. Back when, and I don't know how old you are, but back when I was coming, just get your degree and then you can do whatever you want. You have a huge house and a family, a dog, everything will be fine. And it's like now you get a degree, you're not even able to pay off your student loan debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and the economy is just changing. So I think the multiple streams are important, and accessing other talents or gifts that you have is important as well.
Yes, definitely. And I think especially during this pandemic, we are realizing more and more that there's a lot of displaced college graduates
Hmm.
because things shifted online. you may have studied something in school that isn't quite online yet. And
Right.
so you said you have to find another avenue of income.
Right.
So we have to get creative.
Absolutely. And if something like COVID happens and you lose your job, you're not, you know, lost. You know, you have something else to fall back on. And that's why, you know, I think that um, whether it's real estate, whatever it is, having some residual form of income is something that my wife and I and a lot of other young professionals talk about a lot nowadays.
Right. And so I know that you in your organization open doors for these youth to know what financial resources are available to them in terms of startups and things like that. So, what are some of the resources that you encountered while you were in Houston that people might not know about that they can use for their startups?
Well, then obviously we were affiliated with the NAACP, so that was huge because they were interconnected there in Houston pretty well. You know, I was actually trying to bring something to life like that here in Charlotte right before COVID hit. But the Small Business Association, there's a lot of funds set up for minorities. A lot of big companies like Coca-Cola have funds set aside for minority businesses and entrepreneurship because they realize that there is this dearth of resources. So being able to tap into that, going on their website and filling out the applications and figuring out how you can get in touch with all that capital, like corporation capital, excuse me.
Right. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of scholarships out there for minorities that they're not aware of
Mm,
that they need to tap into, whether it's for applying for college or starting their own business. There's a
right.
lot of ones that haven't been tapped into yet. So I think that's a great vessel of education.
Yeah. I also think group economics is something that we're going to see a rise in post-COVID. You know, people like yourself and other young, bright minds getting together and saying that, you know what, maybe I don't know everything about creating garments or clothes or whatever, but we can pool our resources with someone that has the initiative and ambition to do it and fund the startup and then own partial shares of the company or get some residual income from that. I think you're going to see more of that because you know, it just makes sense on both ends, right? You're an initial investor, you have residual income. It's not doing anything in the bank, but this way it's growing, you're making your money work for you, and then that person with that ambition can take that idea and create a reality.
Right. No, I totally agree with that, especially in this climate. It's very crucial to have not only residual income, but just something that you don't really have to think about while you're at your normal 9 to 5 that
Right.
you can fall back on.
I know that's right.
Yeah. And so we've seen such a shift in the conversation on a national level when it comes to the racial tensions, the socio-political climate. So could
Sure.
you tell us what the value of these mentoring organizations means to you as a Black man in the United States of America?
Yeah. Um, you know, shameless plug, Darker Shades of American Dream is on Amazon. Uh, you know, that book was really me showing kind of the average person that, you know, I was eating ramen noodles, man, like every day. You know what I mean? We had no hot water sometimes, you know, and I think that when you experience that and then you work hard and you're still being told no, you know, because of the color of your skin or because people don't like, you know, how you talk or how, you know, how you look. I think that it's imperative that those of us that understand that trajectory, you know, stand in the gap. You know, we have to be, nobody's going to be able to speak to another young, you know, Nigerian immigrant that's trying to go through, you know, become a doctor like you will, you know, because you were that person. And I think we have to take ownership of this. And I think that while it's important to have help from the majority, those with capital, I think it's important that we as well build for ourselves. There's Chinatown in every major city in the U.S. There's Little Italy, you know, there's all these things that these different groups have built up for themselves. It's the beauty of America. And I think that it's past time for us to have another Black Wall Street and those type of expansive ideas.
Right. I totally agree with that. And just like you were saying earlier about pooling our resources together, I think that if we can get out of that mindset of being so competitive that we can't see the value of our neighbor, we
Right.
can really thrive as a community.
Absolutely. And you build infrastructure. So now we own this whole plaza. So when someone else wants to start their business, they come up and, we offer them favorable opportunities with a lower rate to rent this unit or something like that. And we keep that black dollar in our own community.
Right. That is really crucial. And I think, as you mentioned before, there's so many different examples from other ethnic communities of how they're doing it. And we can do the same thing as well.
There's no reason that we can't. We lack capital, but we have to do better with what we do have. And then when we do get access to some more capital, we need to invest it. We have to be wise with our money, and that's no shame. But that's not we all have different walks in this life. But I think if you come from nothing and you don't have money, it's imperative, right, that we learn what to do when we do get it. It's the
Yeah.
only keep you from going back into that same cycle.
That's a great point that you brought up because we see a lot of people in other industries, like maybe a young rapper who gets $1 million advance on their record
Mm,
deal and they just splurge it all.
yeah,
And then they find out, hold on a second, that wasn't even your money. That
that's
was
right.
a loan from the record label,
Right,
you know? And so people don't even know that you can't be buying all these Rolexes and crazy cars off
right.
the jump because that's not even yours.
That's right. And I think the beauty is that the beauty in life is the middle ground, the compromise, right? If you have invested wisely earlier in life, then there's a point at which you can, I mean, to quote famous philosophers, it's not stunting if you got it, right? Like if you if you've done enough in your life to where you have expendable capital and you can do those sorts of things, nobody's looking at you sideways. Like, that's your money, do what you got to do. But you also can pay your rent, your mortgage, provide for your family, and create generational wealth so that when your kids are your age, they're not going through the stuff that we're talking about now.
Exactly. Exactly. And speaking of that, I know, like we talked about before, young physicians and even young college students who are recently graduated are entering this huge swamp of debt when they first come out.
Right.
So, when you first graduated from med school and got into residency,
Oh,
and
yeah.
even during residency, how did you kind of change your way of thinking? And like, did you start a different account? Did you open a 401k immediately? Like, how did you navigate this issue?
So what I'm about to say, if nobody, if y'all don't remember nothing tonight, I think that this is imperative. The people that you surround yourself with create the environment that you will have for the rest of your life,
Hmm.
right? So I'm blessed. I have an awesome wife, and while we were dating, we would always go back and forth about business strategies and things that we wanted to do. And we have just never been in a place where we were too materialistic that when we had capital, that was the first thing we wanted to do. We were always thinking about paying down debt and then investing and doing things that create something for our future. And I think that it changed the trajectory of my life. Like, honestly, like, I mean, I think that honestly, my wife and I going to things like financial peace seminar with Dave Ramsey, or reading the same financial book and then going back and forth about things we want to do to build our wealth, the generational wealth conversation that's being had in America today. That changed the trajectory of our lives. Like, I think we made that conscious decision early, and then our it's paid dividends. Like, I mean, I have the utmost confidence in the life we're building together because of who I chose to build that with, and our similar like-minded attitude towards money. So not necessarily just marriage, but just your friends, who you choose to bounce ideas off of, and what they're doing in their own life. If you see someone who is financially savvy, their business investments are growing dividends, talk to them. I'm notorious uh, for just getting coffee with somebody and picking their brain about how they got to where they are, because that knowledge is invaluable. If you want to be great, go hang out with greatness.
Yes. It just goes back to that quote that's birds of a feather flock together, right?
Right,
You can't expect to thrive financially if you're hanging out with people who are splurging their paycheck as soon as they get it.
right,
And just like you said, when it comes to friendships, relationships, you have to be like-minded in your business mentality. So I think that's so crucial because you're building an empire together, right? And I
right.
think that everyone at the table should have something to contribute that's going to build you all up.
Exactly. And I mean, like I said earlier, there's a middle ground. So because I hang out with bankers, businessmen, people that created their own business, whatever it is, so when we do have fun, we have fun together. So we'll go, on vacation together, or do things that are nice and Instagram savvy. You can put the up there and do all that stuff. But I can also call them for a business idea, right? And say, hey, there's this investment coming up. Hey, what do y'all think about this? Bounce ideas off my banker neighbor, bounce ideas off someone that's in this industry, and say, hey, is this a good investment? Is this sound? Is this discipline? Should we do this? Because when you get the fruits of that labor, I mean, it's y'all together, right? So, then y'all go splurge or do whatever because you've made wise investments on the front end.
Right. I totally agree with that. And a lot of times we tend to be sheltered with people who are in our industry. But the point that you just made is very important because you are drawing wisdom from people who are in banking and business, and together they're also building something from you from the medicine side. Together you're building something to thrive from and to reap the benefits of, going on those Instagram savvy vacations and all that, but also having an investment.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I don't mind posting an IG pic to something nice if I've done some work on the front end to
Yeah.
support that, right? That's not money I'm spending. That's an asset that has created some money for me that I'm just, doing something with.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's honestly goals for me because I think that everyone here can benefit from that advice, and we should never settle at the level that we're at. We should always strive to improve on our current state.
Hmm.
So I think that's something that everyone can learn from.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
so being are you a first generation American?
Oh, yeah. Yes. First,
Okay.
and Yoruba tribe, stand up if you out there. Yeah, all day. But I was born in LA, but both my parents are Yoruba and Nigerian. I know you're Nigerian as well.
Yes, yes, sir. So yeah, I'm from the Igbo tribe, but we're all brothers and sisters.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah. And
But
so
you
I
know,
know,
the jollof rice question. No, we won't do that one.
well, we can do that if they want to. We can do that if they want to.
I don't I don't want to start a war in the chat. Go ahead.
I know some people in here would differ from our opinion, but the
Already,
truth is always on the table.
I already know.
Yeah, we see the flags.
That's right.
But so
Go
I know a lot of people who are first generation American from any other country can probably relate to the three acceptable professions, which are
Doc.
doctor, lawyer, engineer.
There's a comedian that says there's four: doctor, lawyer, engineer, or disgrace. That's your
Oh,
only
yeah, I heard about that one.
right.
Yeah. So, having said that, did you find any difficulty letting your parents know that you were going to become a published author?
The chronology of it. I was a doctor first,
Right.
and before I finished residency, I published my first book. So I don't think they were very uh, mad about the fact that I also brought a book out. Now, I think at the core of your question, what you're really asking is if I would have done a book first and forego my medical education, I don't know if they would have been happy with me. My
Yeah.
parents are typical Nigerian or immigrant parents and very strict and always very high expectations.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think though that now we're seeing more and more parents embracing the arts as a professional career
Sure.
within the African diaspora and other diasporas because they see how lucrative it can be. So, how do you think that parents can better support their children in these artistic pursuits?
Well, I think that there's balance in everywhere in life, and I think being able to provide for your family or the lifestyle that you want to lead is very important, and being aware of what's in the marketplace and how the economy is going. I think you can pursue the arts, but be realistic about what the average person in that art makes each year, right? So if you want to do finger painting and there's only two that are world renowned and make millions of dollars, but most of them live at home with their parents on their couch or in the basement, you have to be honest with yourself about those chances and what that means, right? So is there a middle ground where you can paint or do whatever you want to do in the arts, but still lead a craft that provides you the kind of lifestyle that you want to lead? You're able to take care of your family, provide for your future family if that's something that you're inclined to do, and support yourself. And like we talked about earlier, build generational wealth. Because sometimes those two ideas don't align. And I think that's the hard truth. I think it's hard to tell young people that while you have dreams of being a basketball player or something like that, you probably need to find something you can do that delivers a service or a benefit, some value to the average American. That's probably going to generate more wealth for you of your lifetime. But at the same time, I think it's important to tap into your imagination and never let go of that dream, because you never know, right? You never know. Nobody's built like you. You may offer some different perspective or personality that makes it great. For every one person that tells me they enjoyed my book, but XYZ, someone else thinks it's amazing. So I think it's just that's the arts. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I think you made two very important points there, which is one, art is open to perception,
Hmm.
and two, you shouldn't judge what you want to go into based on how many people have done it before you. Because, like you said, everyone has a different perspective when it comes to that. And you can put a little tweak that might turn into $1 million idea.
So I think it's just hard because it's like you're trying to force somebody to stick to this very strict, like you have to be a doctor or lawyer thing. But I think there's a middle ground there, right? You can pursue your education, medicine, right? You're pursuing a medical career, but you're also doing something like this. And I think this is wonderful. I think this platform's awesome. I think highlighting these businesses, stuff like that, you never know. I may see you on TV a few years from now and be like, hey, I was on her IG that one night. You know what I mean? Just, you never know. I think that you can do both. I think the challenge is knowing what you have to do and what you can do is different. You have to do certain things in life to lead a certain type of life and generate wealth and take care of yourself and your family. But that does not mean that you cannot do other things.
Right. I totally agree with that. And two people that I think about when it comes to this issue are one, Davido, who, for anyone who out there who doesn't know this, he's a Nigerian American singer. His dad is actually a very wealthy businessman in Nigeria, but I think what his story was that when he was in college, he started making beats and started realizing that he wanted to pursue music full time. And his dad said, "All right, I'll make a deal with you. If I give you like $1 billion or a million, however much it was,
Right,
you get just a small allowance,
right, right,
you can go ahead. And if you can prove to me that you have this career going on and it can actually yield a profit for you, then you have my blessing, go ahead. But if you can't, then you got to go back to school."
right,
So he actually turned a profit, and now he's one of the biggest artists that we see coming from
right,
Nigeria.
right.
And the
That's,
other person that comes to mind is Myron Roll. I think, have you heard of him? The
yes,
pediatric neurosurgeon.
that's right.
He was in the NFL, right? Where he was a college football athlete.
Yes.
And yeah, he retired at age 26.
Oh, as well, but yes, yes.
Yeah, he retired at age 26. He was like, I already, read the concussion study. I'm not down with that. I'm gonna stop here.
Mhm.
But he did both.
Right.
So I think having that familial support and recognizing that you can do so many things that generate income and also make you happy and you're fulfilling your passion is so important.
Absolutely. It's, at the core of this subject matter is just, as a parent, you want what's best for your kids. It's always going to be a thing. And if you live this life, you realize if you live without money, it's going to be tough. It just is. Money isn't everything. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that if you have money, it makes things easier. So you always want to, impose that, hey, do something that's going to generate wealth. But as we all know, wealth does not always equal happiness. So you have to also find fulfillment in what you do as well.
Yes, that is very true. Exactly. Wealth does not equal happiness. It comes from within. And as you said, there are bills that have to be paid at the end of the day. So,
I mean, that happiness and, that butterfly feeling does not pay the rent. It does not pay the mortgage, unfortunately. So you got to be honest with yourself.
exactly. If only it did.
Right.
So, speaking about your path to becoming a published author, what were some of the steps that you took to make that a reality? Like, how did you get the book started, get in touch with publishing companies, or even have your own company? How did that work out?
Sure. So I'm a big believer in 2020, there's nothing you can't figure out, right? Like there's so much free information out there. I Googled a whole bunch. I read reviews from self-publishing agencies, and I had a friend that had published her book several years earlier. So I spoke to her and her husband about it. And, I did all these things to accumulate as much knowledge as I needed to on self-publishing. And then, I called around, found the different quotes that they gave me, and just basically looked at their product and their work and said, this is something quality. This is something I would like to emulate. And then even with that, I still did a lot of research on how to make it viable. So there's a lot of people that self-publish, but then what, right? So I really wanted to do something that was impactful. Um, my first book, uh, Humbly, I think is very good. But I took a lot of time to make sure that the product that I brought out was something that most people would enjoy, because unfortunately, just because you write something doesn't mean people are going to enjoy it or want it. So I think that you have to really study something before you make that type of investment into it.
Yes. And how many eyes did you have on your first project? Because I know usually you try to get a couple editors to review and make any necessary suggestions.
I don't know if I had up to like 20 people that read my. I was actually nervous because I'd never done anything. I was like, I don't want somebody to like steal my book or like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But I had a lot of friends and colleagues, great people from all walks of life. Is actually what I did, because I thought it was important to, get everyone from every walk of life to tell me how they felt about it, because that's how you make something that most people will enjoy. Not just somebody, most people, is you have to test your audience or your market. That's a business theory, right? You can do something a little bit and get people to give you feedback, and then know, okay, this is where I'm going to make my investment, because this is where the bang for my buck is. So I just did that with my book. I actually rewrote it like 3 times, because I did it and I was getting feedback and I was like, so these people love it, but these people don't like it, or that's too much. So I kind of rewrote it, and then I think the finished product, my white coworkers love it, my Latino friends love it, my black friends, of course, love it. So I think that is that's how you do that. You really want to do enough on the front end so that your finished product is valuable.
Right.
Darker Shades of the American Dream. Check it out on Amazon.
Yes, guys, check it out. Check it out, honestly. And I read your most recent book, The Mastering the Crown, and I'm
Yes.
not going to spoil it for anyone,
Okay.
but I will say that the descriptions that you use, both with the
I'll
Yes, you guys check it out. I have the link too for publish
your
or
copy,
purchasing.
by the way. Yes.
Yes. And the way that you describe the scene and everything in the book is very colorful. So, how did you decide on the book's geographic and temporal setting? Because that was very creative.
Yeah. So the inspiration for Mastering the Crown was my daughter. So this is not something that I just woke up and said, "Hey, I'll do this." Um, when when I found out I was having a girl, my wife likes to say I freaked out, but I think I was just really overwhelmed with this. Like, man, I really don't want to mess this up. I think every reasonable father has this kind of like, man, this is a moment to impose a great father figure into her life and hopefully lead her into a trajectory where she understands how to be taken care of, what proper affection is, trust, compromise. Um, so I started writing actually. And what I wrote initially was just a whole bunch of things I wanted to tell my daughter, like just a whole bunch of, dating, money, education, how to deal with life, ups and downs. And it was just like this huge notebook of tattered mess that I had written after my daughter's only 2, by the way. But so I wrote that, and then I started thinking about how I also wanted this sense of identity. I think that as young Black women specifically, I've learned a lot from my wife, and I think that 4C hair texture, kinky hair, being darker toned, not being featured as the object of someone's affection, not seeing people like you in certain positions of authority. It really, in our society, sometimes it can really mess with your self-esteem. And I think that it was imperative to me that I infused into the book that. Like, I wanted my main character to have 4C hair texture, dark skin tone. My baby's a chocolate baby, so I wanted her to see herself in the main character. And I wanted her to be unyielding. I wanted her to be confident, you know what I mean? Not fear anything, make mistakes, but grow and be a leader. And all the stuff, dating, money, how to interact with people. So I created that. So I said that's what I wanted in the book. So this is actually a novel or novella. It's a short story that is a African warrior princess that's going through these different trials and tribulations, and she's set to become the next tribal queen. But she has to learn how to take care of herself and her tribe. And I try to, use that dichotomy between figuring out how to take care of yourself and then you become a queen when you have to take care of your family. So that's the kind of the mantra I was going for.
Yes, I love that. And the message couldn't have been any more timely because as a people, we are going through such a psychological warfare and awakening, I would say.
Mhm.
Just especially as Black women in any industry, having to not only care for your family and keep up appearances at work and even go 10 times harder than you could ever imagine, but also remember to smile and not have that angry Black woman face. So people don't say you have a mean mug. I mean, there's like so much. It's like, that's the thing that you want to nitpick.
Well, I mean, it's things that so I have sisters and a wife, and I actually talk about this in the preface of this book. And I think that these are things that I didn't appreciate to the magnitude or gravity of it until I got married. And like every day, like my wife would tell me, like the interview hair, the hair she wears to the interview is different than the hair she can wear a few months in, right? Like it's different. And I was like, what? Like, why would they care? She's like, no, 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 you can't show up like this, and they're gonna think you're one of those. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole thing. You know what I mean? Or I like when you wear your hair like this. Her colleague or boss may say that or something. It's those type of things. Or when she speaks, how she is viewed by her colleagues may be different because of, like you said, her face or how she says something, or she's always angry, or so I think that these things led to this book. I just I wanted to flip it on its head. I just wanted her to be like herself, and you know, I don't want to curse on here, but be, be with it. You know, she knows what she's about, and that's okay. That's okay to be a confident young Black woman. I think that's fine, and I want you to feel that that is beautiful, that is prideful. You should take pride in those elements of yourself.
Yes, I 100% applaud that. And I think that the awakening that we're going through now is learning how to not be apologetic for who we are.
Mm.
Comes naturally from our head, what comes naturally in our expressions, because we go through it. We really
Right,
do.
right.
And I can relate to those interview things too. I remember in a seminar that I was in with fellow residency applicants, it was primarily a minority group, and they were saying, so how do we wear our hair for this interview? That's a thing that Black girls have to ask themselves, because
Right.
if you don't have the Eurocentric look,
Mm.
you can be perceived as unprofessional, not serious. And so these are things that we have to think about: our hair, how we look, even our shape. We have to think about Eurocentrizing those things.
Absolutely.
And we shouldn't have to be apologetic for that, because that's who we are.
Right, right. And I, you know, and I think that it's imperative for, because of the lack of representation issue. It's imperative. It was imperative for me with my daughter for her to see that. Like I wanted her to, I would love. She's way too young now, but I would have loved to take her to see Michelle Obama or something like that. I want her to be in touch with that, see people of a certain ilk, and she can do that. Like you can do whatever you want to do. There's nothing you can't do. I never want her confidence to be challenged, like ever.
Right.
You want to do it, that's on you, but it's not because you can't.
Right.
That's a big thing. So that led to the book, and you read it. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did, very much so.
That's what led to Mastering the Crown. You guys can check it out at masterthecrown.com. I also influenced or infused it with a lot of African influence. Like I wanted her to take pride in where she's from. I think that, unfortunately in our society, we don't emphasize the great things that Africa gave the world, and the great things that the culture has in it. You know what I mean? And I want to put that in there and kind of spice up the book a little bit, so people of all nationalities can get a sense of like African culture and why it's great. What makes us special.
Yes. And I think the way that you describe the characters, and little things like giving birth and crying and facing a difficult battle, just personified the trials that we as a people have gone through. But I think it reminded me of how I felt when I watched Black Panther for the first time, and
Yeah,
how everyone was going to the theaters in their kente and whatever.
yeah.
Like there was that universal sense of pride felt all around, and people who were not even Black could relate to and see that strength and what that meant. So in thinking about that, what do you think your next project will be about?
First of all, that's probably the highest compliment I've received. I really appreciate that. I don't know what to say to that. That's R.I.P. Chadwick, by the way. That's take that moment. But I actually wanted to do a series for Mastering the Crown. I wanted her to continue to grow into the queen. I kind of left it at a cliffhanger at the end. I won't spoil it for anybody, but I wanted her to learn now as a tribal queen, like what decisions you make impact the whole tribe. You have the ability to make decisions, but they come with consequences, and that's life. That's life. So I think that. You know, African warrior princess becomes queen, and then, she's gonna, do her thing with her tribe. Is kind of what I was going with next. I also have a Black health book I'm working on, and a lot of people want me to do a second part of Darker Shades of the American Dream. So we'll see. This one took a while, and I wanted to give it my proper focus. So I haven't really touched other things until I got this out. Yeah.
Right. Well, it seems like people in the comments are definitely agreeing and supporting with you making it a series, because there aren't too many series like this out there that
But what,
highlight that tribal
like,
era.
it's like, sorry to cut you off. I mean, but that's what was interesting to me. Like, so my wife and I will, my daughter will watch a TV show, and I'm like, could we have a Nigerian princess? Could we have a Jamaican princess? Could we have something like that so that she can see herself and learn some of the cultural aspects subliminally, and what I mean, see, paint them in a different light. And that was another inspiration for me. I just really want that to be a thing, that people can enjoy the culture and see themselves. And that I've heard a few times is people say Nickelodeon or something. Like they should make this into a movie, and I would love that. If Nickelodeon's listening, just let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, if we have any insiders here who work with Nickelodeon or Disney, because I would love to see an African princess, Jamaican princess
Why is there
on
not?
Disney.
It's like, so you would think we would do that, but yeah. So I think it's important. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Even oh, what is that new series that came out? There's a series that came out about a father and his daughter and her natural hair. You guys
Oh,
know about the cartoon that
okay.
came out, and I think someone stole his idea though and put it on Netflix. But
Oh,
he had his own series, or no, they're trying to make one on Nickelodeon. I
okay.
think he actually won an award for it last year.
Oh, the book. I know what you're talking about. Yes, yes.
Hair Love,
Yeah,
yes,
right. That's right.
yes,
Yes.
yeah. And I think that was so beautiful because little black girls could see someone with their hair texture, and you see the role of the father in his daughter's life. I mean, because a lot of shows have an absentee father or an incomplete family union, and we do have complete families, and families come in different shades and sizes, and there's so much beauty to that. So I love series like that that are celebrating that and showcasing that.
Sure. And that's, as you know from the book, I wanted to show that you can have that family structure and be powerful and show love and have discipline. You can do all of that and be black, and that's not an anomaly. I know a lot of great black mothers and fathers that take care of their families every day, and I just wanted to impress that in the book.
Yes, I think you did a wonderful job of that, and it just, I mean, just reading it, you have that image of being there. It's,
Thank you. That's what I'm going for. I really want people to feel like they can see it, and that's why I wrote it that way. And I, I'm just thankful. Thank you.
oh, thank you. And I also wanted to ask you one more question. Well, two more questions. The first one is, who did the artwork for the book?
Sure. Joseph Sangalo. He is actually in Nairobi, Kenya.
Mm,
He is an artist, and I found him. It took me a while to find him. Went through a whole bunch of artists, and I wanted to employ a African artist to do the African warrior princess, outfits, and I don't know how much you guys can see here, and the whole thing. And
yeah.
he did phenomenal, even within the book, as you referenced. There's great artwork because he actually does this. Like, that's what he does, is African artwork. So yeah, I found him on Instagram, ironically, and it was tough because he's all the way in Nairobi, Kenya, but he was able to do the artwork, and it's beautiful. Shout out to Joe Tread.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe you could work with him when you're creating the show for this.
I
And
would love
yeah,
to. I would love to.
yeah. Because I can really see those characters coming to life with his artwork, and it just paints that picture of the setting and the book, and it's great.
Yeah, no, I uh, actually, I talked to him last week, or texted him last week, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I would love to do another one. Let's just see how this goes and go from there."
Yeah, for sure. And then another question I had is, do you have any advice for any aspiring physicians or business professionals, especially during these times, how they can better pursue their goals?
Sure. The first thing is to be bold. I think it's very cliche, but you have to be comfortable being told no. I think that's a fallacy or something that people don't get comfortable with at a young age. If you want to do something different, new, you want to go somewhere you've never been before, people around you aren't doing that thing, then people are going to look at you sideways if you're trying to do that. That's just it just comes with the territory, right? Nobody's doing that. Why do you want to do that? Why don't you do what everybody else is doing, you know? And I think that the more comfortable you are with being uncomfortable, saying, hey, you know, this is not going well, or people aren't believing in what I see, you know, you believe in stuff even though they can't see it yet, is imperative for any dream, for anything you want to do. You have to be that kind of sense of pride and ambition despite what you can see. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, your dream will die. Like, people will talk you out of your dream, like every time, every single time, because they can't see it. They're not you. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't listen to critique and grow, and find mentorship or someone that's done it before. And hey, maybe this is not the right avenue. Maybe A to B isn't the right way. Maybe A to C is the right way to get it done. But I think that without that sense of ambition and grit, a lot of dreams go deferred, or people give up on their dreams.
Hmm. That is definitely true. And especially like we were talking about before, when you don't see one who has done it before you in your vicinity, you start to wonder if it's even possible. But it might be your destiny to be the first person to accomplish that dream.
That's right. I uh, was at a place where I didn't know if I wanted to do medicine for a little bit because I was having trouble getting people to shadow. And then I was thinking about how long it would take, you know, and I was like, you know, I don't know. I can be a pharmacist. I can do XYZ in a short amount of time. That's how I was looking at it. And I was broke, quite frankly. I was eating ramen noodles every day. So I was like, does it make sense to do this for another? And, you know, I had a conversation with my uncle, and he said, yeah, okay, you can be a pharmacist. And then what? I was like, oh, well, you know, I can make some money and I can, you know, do this. He's like, okay. But in the back of your mind, could you be a doctor? I was like, yeah. He's like, would you decide to do that later? I said, maybe. He said, then why don't you just go be a doctor if that's really what you want to do? And I was like, I guess, but it'd be harder. He's like, well, I mean, the harder it is, the bigger the payout. You know what I'm saying? So if it's hard to do it, that's the one you should probably do, because if you get done, it's going to be amazing, right?
Right.
Just having someone push you and say, you know, just because it's tough right now doesn't mean you can't do it. You know, was important in my walk.
Yes, I love that. I'm glad that you had a supportive family member during that time who actually saw the potential in you, that you were kind of pushing back because you saw it as a more difficult path. And a lot of times, a lot of us do that because we tend to tell ourselves, well, this is going to be an easier path. Let me just go through that. And in the back of your mind, you're regretting not having gone after that initial dream.
That's right. I mean, everybody's personality is different, and you don't have to be a doctor. You can do whatever you want. But I think that you have to be honest with your personality and who you are. And I know that in the back of my mind, I would always be like, I could be a doctor.
Yeah.
I, you know what I mean? I could do that if I wanted to. Or what would have happened if I did X? And um, I'm thankful and grateful today that, you know, that I'm a doctor.
Yes. And I know your patients are too, because they not only have a doctor who can practice medicine, but they also have one who's an amazing creative writer, a great father, and all of those talents combined make you a more well-rounded physician.
I would, not for myself personally, but I do think that's important. I think that even universities and institutions of higher learning are starting to realize that those do make you a better doctor or lawyer or whatever if you have certain grounding principles like family and a sense of fulfillment and other things.
Exactly. Exactly. And I like what you said earlier too about people just getting more accustomed to hearing no, because just because you're told no doesn't mean that you have to accept it
That's right.
in in that's, take that with a grain of salt. I
That's,
know.
well,
But
well, all have to adapt. Like,
yeah, for
I,
these purposes, yes.
yeah, I'm not saying that. Look, if you know, you want to bring out some shoes and nobody likes those shoes and everybody keeps telling you they hate them, you know, you may need to adapt. Like, I think that part of working hard is realizing that this point A to point B isn't working. How can I fix this? What am I missing? You know what I mean? Figure out what type of shoe people do want and then modify your idea, you know? I think people start with the dream and then face some resistance and then stop. And I think that's not how you do it. Um,
Right.
Many people dropped out of college and founded great platforms that we're using today, like Facebook, and did some amazing things. And if they would have said, well, why did you get out of college? Why did you not pursue X, Y, Z? Maybe we wouldn't have some of the great things that we have today, you know? So uh, I think it's important that, yeah, it's nurtured and that you have support, but you're also able to take time and work hard to reevaluate what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah, you constantly have to reevaluate what you're doing. Take in the constructive criticism, because it's not all meant to tell you to throw your dreams away. You can use that as part of your arsenal to perfect your craft and to better cater to the audience that you're trying to reach out to.
Yes, that's more important to me than having the dream in the first place. Like, it's the personality of the person with the dream that's most important. It's not the dream. There's many great ideas out there. People have great ideas every day, but do you have the kind of personality that you want to bring it to life? You're willing to do what it takes to bring it to life. That's actually more important.
Right.
You
I
can't
100%.
$1 million dream and $5 work ethic. It doesn't work like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And whether you're a person of faith that, you know, prays, or, just someone who believes in the universe, there's a quote I know that is, faith without works is dead.
Right.
So you can't just be hoping that, your dream's going to come true and not put in the work. You actually have to go hard. You got to wake up early. You have to put in work.
Mm-hmm. Um, people are, oh, you're a doctor, it's great, blah, blah. I mean, people always joke because I look young and, oh, how long have you been a doctor, blah, blah, but they don't realize, like, I get in early and sometimes I leave late, I was on call last week. If they called me right now during an interview, I'd say, hey, guys, sorry, I got to go take care of that. But that's part of the gig, and I'm willing to do that for what I want.
Yes. Yeah, it takes a lot of sacrifice, and it takes a lot of putting others first, and putting aside personal desires first, to accomplish your dream. But the payoff is worth it in the end.
Absolutely. I would never, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. Like, I mean, writing is important to me, and taking care of my patients is important to me. But like, I can't think of anything else that would inspire me as much. So I'm thankful.
Yes, for sure. And it seems like we've got a question here from someone in the audience. Have you considered serving in politics in your future?
I don't know why I get that question. I don't know. I don't know what about me. I'm actually pretty apolitical. My wife and I get asked that a lot. I don't know what, it kind of makes me feel a little awkward because I don't know much about politics. I consider it sometimes, especially in light of what's going on today in politics and stuff. But I think I'm just fearful of attacks on my family, and just the hatred, the vitriol that's out there. And quite frankly, as a young black man, I think it can be rather nasty.
Mm.
That what people don't talk about during the Obama years is how much hatred he got, despite not really doing that much compared to this administration. So, like, that kind of, I think you take on that as well as just how hard politics are.
Yes. Yeah, somebody said you're giving off Obama vibes.
I'm not even, Obama's a goat. I'm not, I can't lace Obama's shoes, right?
I think it's very inspirational to see Black men pursuing their dreams, making things happen in the community, and also mentoring the youth. So I think that is part of why people probably see that quality in you. And yeah, I mean, I understand that a lot of hate comes with it, but I can't think of a politician that has not gotten hate. So don't rule it out,
I
even locally.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between hating me. I'm a grown man, who cares? But my family, I take that very. That's where I shoves a camera in your face, and I may not respond well to that. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that's very true. Very valid point. So, just so anybody who missed how to get your book can have the information, would you mind just dropping again the website for everyone?
sure. So y'all check out my new book, Master the Crown. It's available at masterthecrown.com, mastering the crown, but it's available at masterthecrown.com. African warrior princess story, just a kind of ode to young Black women, and feeling a sense of pride in African culture, and becoming a tribal queen in their own element. I try to infuse it with a lot of life lessons that I wanted to impart on my own daughter, and I've had pretty good feedback, so I'd appreciate y'all's support. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so everyone, you heard it here. Just click on the link. I put it in the pinned comment, and it's also going to be on the live page later. So make sure you purchase the book. It's a very good read. And I'm going to check out your first book too, because that sounds like it impacted a lot of people, and it's something I can relate to as well. So thank you so, so much for your time this evening.
I really appreciate y'all sticking through my boring talk, and y'all have a great night. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Korede. And we wish you and your family peace and blessings, and say hi to your daughter and your wife. And we are looking forward to the rest of the series.
For sure, for sure. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great night. Be safe, please.
All right. Be safe. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So if you would like to be a guest on upcoming episodes of Testimony Tuesdays, just send me a DM. And this live will be available on YouTube, and it'll be on IGT for a little bit, but I usually have it on YouTube just to make some more space on my page. So thank you all so much for joining, and see you next Tuesday.